Talk about two more methods to prove that triangles are congruent. Up until this point, we have side, 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 or side, angle, side. The first thing we're going to talk about is what it means to be an included side, like we talked about an included angle. To be an included side, it has to be stuck in between the two angles that are being listed. So if I used y and x as my two angles, my included side would be yx. If I used x and z as my two angles, the included side, the side stuck between them, would be xz. If I used y and z as my two angles, the included side so if I'm looking between angle y and angle z, the included side would be segment YZ. It has to be in between the two angles. Does everybody understand what it means to be included? Okay. And the reason we needed to know about included is because the next theorem says angle, side, angle, or ASA from this point on. Okay. Notice that the side is in between the two angles in the acronym. If two angles and the included side of one triangle, two angles, y and z, the included side, segment YZ, are congruent to two angles and the included angle of another triangle, L and N, the included side, LN, then the two triangles are congruent. So we can write a congruent statement. For these two triangles. Remember, the order of the first triangle does not matter. If I go x, y, z, no mark on an angle, to the right angle, to the one mark, what's the order of the other triangle got to be? If I went x, y, z, what's the other one have to be? M, L, N. And I can make this statement by angle, side, angle. I have two angles and an included side. I have two angles and an included side, so the two triangles are congruent. Questions? Angle, angle side then. Angle, angle side says the side is not going to be included. Notice that it comes after the two angles. Notice I go from P to R to the side. I go from V to T to the side. 2 marks to 1 mark on an angle, 2 marks to 1 mark on an angle, that 1 mark on the side. So I have two angles and a non-included side. Angle, angle, side, congruency. If I look at my two triangles, I can make a congruent statement. If I go PQR, because the first order doesn't matter, what's the other one have to be? It has to be VST. 2 marks to no marks to 1 mark, 2 to none to 1. Okay. I can make this statement by angle, angle, side. Question?
Yeah. So what if it wasn't angle P and it changed to angle Q and then the marking was on segment P and R?
Hang on just a second. Let me make sure I understand. Everybody good? This little this little symbol that put a box in here, these are supposed to be triangles. When it printed up, it changed the symbols. Triangle ABC is not congruent to triangle DEF. Here they give me an angle, they give me a side, and they give me a side. And we have no theorem or postulate that allows us to list either SSA or ASS. And just as a way to remember it, I always say there's no buts in geometry. I'm trying to figure out what they did down here. Triangle L, M, P. Oh, this is just an example of it. Take a look. Triangle LMP. You'll notice it goes 10. It has this angle. And it has 8. If I separated it out, it would look like this. 10, 8, and this angle. And then LNP would be this triangle. And it would look like this. This would have been congruent. This would have been 10. This would have been 8. And they're just showing you that there's no way that part of this triangle is equal to or congruent to the whole thing. That's why angle side side doesn't work. Okay? What corresponding parts must be congruent in order to prove that the triangles are congruent by angle side angle? So here I'm looking for angle side angle. In other words, I want the side to be included. So if I come over here, I've got an angle and I have a side. Which angle is missing to make it angle side angle? Take a look in example 1. If it's going to go angle side angle, I've got an angle. I have a side. Which angle is missing? Angle M. I've got a side. I've got an angle. Which angle is missing? Angle Q. So angle M would have to be congruent to angle Q to have angle side angle. Example 2. I have an angle, I have an angle, I have an angle, and I have an angle. I'm missing the side. Which side am I missing in triangle ABC? What's missing? BC. It has to be that included side. What would it have to be congruent to? It'd have to be congruent to ED, that included side. Remember that anytime you see a picture where vertical angles in the picture, to go ahead and mark those vertical angles as being congruent. They don't need to give you that additional information. You already know it. So in this picture, you can see I have an angle and I have a side. What angle would I need in the picture that's on the left? Would I need Z or would I need K? Somebody said it. I need angle Z. That way I have angle, side, angle. It's caught in between. What angle would I need in the other one? It would have to be the same as angle T. And again, so that it went angle, side, angle, so that it's caught in between. Questions? Same type of question, different theorem. Here they're asking me to use angle, angle, side. In example 4, they gave me an angle, they gave me a side. Which angle would I have to have, M or O, to use angle, angle, side? I've got to have O. They've given me an angle, they've given me a side. Which angle would I have to use, R or Q? I'd have to use R. Example 5 can be tricky because there's more than one way to answer this question. If I want to use angle, angle, side, what side can't I use? I can't use BC. I could use AB. If by chance I used AB, notice I have to go from 2 marks to 1 mark to that side. What would I have to use in the other triangle then? I'd have to use EF. I could have used what? AC congruent to FD. Because if I did, it would still go angle, angle, side. So either one of these pieces of information would work. In example 6, what's the first thing that I should mark as being congruent? Sides are marked. One pair of sides is. What should I mark, though? It's not marked already. What should I mark? I'd better mark those vertical angles or I might miss something. Okay? Again, I have an angle and I have a side. I have an angle and I have a side. If I want to use angle, angle, side, what angle do I need in the picture that's on the left? Do I need Z or K? Which one do I need, Z or K? I need K. If I used Z, it would be angle, side, angle. It needs to be so that it's not included. And what would K have to be congruent to? It would have to be congruent to angle X so that it also went angle, angle, side. Everybody good so far? Guess what your assignment is? those two worksheets today.